What's stopping us from being real, especially as believers? Because we already told our identities. Do we trust in them? What does that look like? Because if we're afraid to, talk about the real stuff, if I'm afraid to let all my crap get spilled, then am I really walking in what the Lord wants me to? Am I really trusting in my identity and who He's called me to be? Or am I believing everything the world tells of me? I treat God like He's a person in my life. It tells us that, He wants a relationship with us. And so people probably think I'm crazy, which is fair. But I walk around life like Jesus is walking right next to me. And I know that sounds really simple, but if you treat somebody like he's right next to you, you're going to talk to him. You're going to be intentional with him. You're going to have the high moments. You're going to have the low moments. You're going to go to him. And so you're going to do all these things. One of my favorite things to ask the Lord when I'm in a conversation with somebody is, Lord, what do I need to ask him or what do I need to tell him? And I've saw the Lord do some incredible things through just me asking that question. A couple weeks ago, we were sitting there and I was at this event and I started talking to this guy and I just, I like to ask the Lord that of like, Lord, what does this person need to know? I just got this thought in my brain of like, this guy's struggling. And I didn't know anything about this guy. I've never met this guy. And I said, hey man, you're probably going to think this is weird, but I just really felt called to ask you, what are you struggling with and how can I help you? This guy started just pouring his guts out. Things he was struggling with. His dad had cancer. He's fighting through all these things. And he was like, I just didn't know where to go. I didn't know what to do. And it was just because I asked the Lord, what does this person need to know? Or what do I need to ask this person? Doing like I would if Jesus was sitting right next to me and saying, Lord, what does this person need to know? Like, what do I need to tell him? What do I need to ask him? I think so often is we count our faith as an element of our life instead of where life comes from itself.
Isaac Taylor.
That's me.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Dude, you are a surprise. And I think I've mentioned this to you before, but for the sake of our audience, you are a surprise to me because you're one of the most mature young men that I've ever met in my entire life. You're like an old soul or something. What do you think, to jump right in, what do you think made you who you are?
Yeah, I think it was just how I've always grown up. Part of it, I look at my story of how I grew up, and I'm an only child, which some people are blown away by that, and some people are like, oh, that makes sense. And so I grew up around adults, and so I like to tell people I had a childhood, but I didn't have a childhood at the same time.
What do you mean by that?
Like I was all my interactions were with adults. And so I think because of that, I matured and grew up a lot faster. And so from the time I was 5 years old, I had my friends at school or daycare or whatever, but I would spend majority of my time around adults and I'd be treated as an adult. And so I think it just caused me to grow up faster and just learn to interact with people more. And then I think it just kind of carried over, and that's part of my story with my faith of just, I was like, I observe people and I'm like, oh, these people have a faith that I want. And so I'm going to surround myself with these people and seek that and seek to have, the relationship that they have with the Lord. And I want that relationship in my life.
So did you ever miss out? Like, do you feel like, oh man, I wish I had siblings and I wish I could have just like run amok as a kid and, stolen the four-wheeler and...
Yeah, I think there's pros and cons. I think there's been moments of like, I have cousins, and so I grew up around my cousins. They didn't live with us, but they were like pretty much over at my house, but they're still a lot older than me. I have two cousins. They're both first cousins of mine, but one's 9 years older than me, and the other one's 6 years older than me. And so I'd kind of run around with them, but even then they're older. And in terms of like experiences, there's definitely like not having siblings, like you're just around adults. And so like you just, like I remember growing up, like the fun thing for me is like we'd go to the ranch, we'd go hunting or whatever. And then we'd get back from hunting and we'd all sit down and play dominoes for hours.
Dude.
And at like 12 years old, I'm sitting there like we're all playing dominoes and I'm thinking this is like the funnest thing ever. And other kids are probably like, I don't know about this. But like that was what I grew up around. So that's just what I knew.
That so fits. That's what I imagine you doing. I imagine like you're 4 years old and you're sitting out on the front porch and your dad like hands you your first pocket knife and you're whittling. Like I just see you like rocking in.
That was another one too. And my grandpa, yeah. My grandpa loved to whittle, and so he taught me. He gave me my first knife when I was like 4 or 5, and so he actually collects knives too. And he taught me how to whittle, and so that's where
your parents aren't like insanely old or anything. They just wanted one kid. Like I guess what I'm saying, not insanely old, but a lot of people, if they're one child families, you got like a parent that's like 70 or something.
Yeah. No, my dad's 54.
Oh, he's a young buck.
Yeah, my dad's 54. My mom's about to turn 50, I think. I don't know. I'm just guessing on their ages, honestly. I could be getting it all wrong.
They're going to thank you for that.
They're going to be like, oh, God, he got our age wrong. But yeah, and so they're not old. When I was born, I had some complications, and they had a pretty rough time. And we lived in a bigger house when I was a kid. And I think we lived in a 5-bedroom house. And so my parents were originally planning to have more kids. And then they had some complications when they had me. And they were like, and also like, I always like to joke with people like, one Isaac's enough. Like, we don't need any more, Like, we don't need any more of these people running around the world. It's kind of crazy. And so.
But see, that's the thing, is that like, you're not really a handful. You're a pretty cool cucumber.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Oh, man. So I kind of want to give the backdrop to this. The reason that I'm probing you on these questions is because I kind of pride myself in being an identifier of like trustworthy young men. Like I work with a lot of young men, and I can kind of go around and go, okay, this one's like, this one's ready. This one's ready for something else, the next level. This person's rocking and rolling with Jesus. This person is out to lunch. They're going to need a couple years of hardship. Let them marinate. They'll be back. They'll be ready about 30. I kind of have a good eye for that. That's kind of what God's called me to, is young adults, young people, and serving them. And when I came across you were with the King's group. King's, I can't remember what we're calling it, but whatever. You were around that group of guys, right? The King's Table guys.
Is it King's Table?
Well, there's Table Men, and that's where I get confused. There's the podcast, there's the movement, there's all that stuff. But like the King's Table guys that flew in from all around the world, they came here to Stephenville, Texas, and we were hanging out that particular night. And I'm like, I just couldn't get a read on you. I was like, I guess he's just, one of Jake's friends.
Yeah.
And then we both went to Alaska to film a podcast. And the podcast was like tertiary to what we were doing up there. It was so much fun.
It was awesome.
It was an awesome trip. But
really
on that trip, so it's on that trip that I realized that, oh man, I have totally misread Isaac, because the more that you would open up a little bit and share with the group, just realize you're like just a soft-spoken, like no need for the spotlight kind of guy. And watching you bring value to the table with these spiritual giants, and even like that, you're on one of the podcast episodes of Tableman, and like, dude, held your own with one of the saltiest cats I know. And Jake was interviewing you guys. It was like, well, there's a lot of depth there. So thus why you are here on the podcast today. And I'd like to get to the bottom of kind of what made you, who, how all that sauce is made, and what you think. What I really want to get at is, what do you think makes a man?
Yeah.
Or at least an Isaac man.
An Isaac man. I think a lot of it's just diving into my story. So looking at my story, I was a very shy, timid person. I still kind of have that character in instances in my life. But I was very much so. I don't want to be the spotlight. I don't want to be the center of attention. I cared a lot about what people thought about me, even throughout high school. But part of my story is like I said, I grew up around adults, and I went and I was doing college when I was in high school. And so I'd spend half my day at the high school, half my day at the college. And so
a dual credit kind of a thing?
Dual credit thing. Like, I ended up getting my associates. And so like, when I graduated high school, and so I was spending all my time with these college students. I'd only spend 3 hours at the high school, and then I'd spend the rest of my day at the college. And so I was surrounded by all these people. And at that point, I was like, I think everybody's got to have a purpose, right? I think just in life, you have to have a purpose, right? Obviously, like, I believe that our purpose is to follow the Lord and what He's called in our life. But at that moment in my life, I didn't have a purpose. I didn't know, what I was supposed to do. I knew there's a creator. I grew up hunting and fishing my whole life, loved being outdoors, like big outdoorsman. And I'm like, I know somebody made all this stuff, but I'm going to get to the bottom of it. I'm going to figure it out because I'm a very I'm going to do this. I'm going to get it done type of person. And so that's what I began to do. I began to research and look in. I spent 6 months just researching religion and different things and why I should believe certain things that I should believe and really getting to the bottom of what it was. And through that, I got invited my junior year. I was hanging out with some people that I met at the college, and they're part of a ministry called the BSM, the Baptist Student Ministry. And one of the guys led a small group, and he was like, hey, you should come to a small group. And I was like, yeah, sure. And so I started going to a small group every week. And the guy, I'll never forget, his name's Colton Fowler. Super cool guy, big kind of mentor guy of mine.
He's got a sweet name.
Yeah, Colton Fowler. And the funny thing is I'm best friends with his cousin. So we grew up together. And so I kind of knew him. And anyways, but he left us with this challenge one week at Bible study, and he said, and this is kind of a corny challenge, but I still challenge people with it all the time. He said, go read John 19:20, which if you know John 19:20, it's the crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus. And he said, read it over and over and over again. And he said, when you can stop reading it is when you start crying. And I was like, what the heck, dude? I'm in my eyes, a man is and you don't cry. I grew up, yeah.
Bubba don't cry.
Bubba don't cry. That's right. You don't cry. And so I did. I went, I don't know, 2 weeks later, I remember this challenge. I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to sit down. And so I had a full evening, and I sat there, and I just began to read. And I read it over and over and over again. And I won't forget, I read it 15 times. And on the 16th time when I started...
16's the number,
16's the number, yeah. And on the 16th time, I just remember I just broke down. I just lost it. And I was just in tears.
Come on.
And that's when I was like, oh my gosh, this is real. This is he wants a relationship with me. I get to step into this. And so that's when I started following Jesus.
So let me pause you right there. You may have said this, but I must have missed it. So were your parents religious at all?
Yeah, I would say my parents are believers. We grew up going to church, but it was really just in my eyes, it was always you go to church. They really never pushed me in my faith or whatever. But in my eyes, growing up, it was you go to church on Sunday because that's what you're supposed to do.
It's what everybody around.
Yeah, it's the the culture that the South has. We live in the Bible Belt, and they're yes, you go to church because that's what you're supposed to do on Sunday.
Gotcha. So no sparks, no nothing throughout that time prior to college.
No, that was when I was a junior in high school. And I got baptized when I was younger. I was I don't want to go to hell. I don't want to get baptized. That's my brain. That's what my 8-year-old self.
It's so here's I'm gonna ping on an issue.
Yeah.
Don't let me go too far, but
yeah,
to me that's the propositional gospel catch-22.
Yeah.
Because don't get me wrong, we need to be offered the gospel, but it's kind of saying there's an old comedian who used to say cake or death. You're on a plane,
yeah,
and the person's walking around and death's with them, the stewardess or whatever, and she's offering you a cake or you can die.
Yeah.
And so they're going through, and she goes, would you like cake or death? And it's well, I'll have cake, please. No, would you like cake or death? It's I'll have the cake. And then we finally get to somebody, it's would you like cake or death? And the person goes, well, the cake. And she says, we're out of cake. So then my choices are or death. That's not a choice.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel those situations, it's well, my choices are, do I want to live with a being in eternal bliss forever, or do I want to burn in hell? Well, I think I'll choose
I'll take
baptism, please.
Yeah.
But the continuing the faith element that you're talking there, where God's faithful to meet you and actually engage in a relationship. Not just the southern
100%.
Bible Belt propositional gospel
thing. And I don't know if it was taught that way, but my little 8-year-old self,
they'd like to.
It perceived it, and I was oh wait, I need to do this. I need to make sure I check that box. I can. That's how my little 8-year-old self was oh yeah, we're gonna get this done. And
so there was some exposure to faith, but you start to question that a little bit.
And I went to youth group throughout high school, I went to the church camps. I did all that stuff. Starting in 7th grade, like we moved churches. And so I got in I would say like a really good youth group. And they taught a lot of stuff, but my brain just never like, clicked and is like, it was all just words on a page to me. But it was like, once I understood, it's like, whoa, God wants a relationship with me.
Dude.
And that's when it's just like, everything, the flip switched,
And I think we need to caveat and say, to the youth minister out there, you did a good job.
Yeah, 100%.
It's just, it is where different people are at. It just takes that relational moment where God reaches through and breaks time and space. But for the youth pastors out there, don't stop doing what you're doing.
Oh, 100%. I think youth ministry is so cool. Because I even look back, like, things that, I learned was from youth group. And when I even though I wasn't following Jesus at the time, people, when they implement biblical principles in our lives, they carry over, and the Lord has a purpose for them. And so even though, like, maybe at that time in my life I wasn't following the Lord, all these biblical principles that people were pouring into me and loving me with and showing me, it was like I was using those in my life, and that was part of how the Lord sought me out and found me, right? Like, he's already seeking me out, but it's like that's how I registered it. That's how I connected it.
Right.
And so,
So fast forward into BSM, he gives you the challenge. You read it the 16th time. 16th time, boom.
Boom, just in tears.
So what does that do? What does that mean for you?
Yeah, it was just like I get to walk every day with the God of the universe. The person, when I'm at my lowest of lows, is there walking through life with me.
So what about that passage was the unlock? Because you say it like, it seems, and I'll give you that. It seems kind of cheesy.
It
Read
is
as many times as you can until you start to cry. But like, what was the revelation that came when you were reading that text that goes, this God is real and I want to follow him? Like,
yeah, I think the biggest thing I think I saw was the love. Right? I think I was like, God loved me so much that he did this for me so that I could have a relationship with him.
That's awesome.
Like, he came and he lived this perfect life. Like, I always say, like, he came down off of his throne, right? That's as personable as it gets. Like, I am a big person on a personal relationship with the Lord. And everybody's relationships looks different because it's personable to us, to each individual person. And it's like, you look at the gospel, that's what the gospel tells us. God didn't just stay up on his throne. No, he came down on earth in a personal way to seek us out, to live this perfect life and die on the cross, be rose 3 days later, defeating death. Like, that's personable.
Yeah.
And so it's like, that carries right on over into this personal relationship we have.
Yeah. And that same guy meets you on the 16th time through.
And
it's me.
Yeah. And that was just when it clicked. And so I just began to, and I just got to see as the Lord put all these faithful people in my life, in just different seasons that he brought me through.
So have you noticed it was a difference since that moment? I mean, you were looking for, is God real? What God is it? What do I truly believe? He meets you in the text. Did you notice like a transformational moment, or were the principles already in place and you just kind of, what was that like? What was after like?
I think there's definitely a transformational moment. You look at my life, and I wasn't a crazy kid. I didn't just, like, I had friends that went out and partied and drank and did all that stuff. And I was usually the designated driver, whatever that looked like. But yeah, my life definitely looked a lot different. And it was one of those things, it was like, I'd tell people, you can't just be half in, half out. Like, you're all in. It's all or nothing. Like, that's when it is when it's following Jesus. And so that's what it was. When that moment happened, I was like, all right. And when my mind's made up, my mind's made up. And so I was like, I'm all in. And so it kind of transferred over to the next season. And it was cool how the Lord used it, because the next season was all these people that I thought were my friends that wanted to hang out with me. And it's like, whoa. I started living a lot different of a life. And they were like, we don't want to be about this life.
So they didn't go with you?
No. I lost I mean, I probably had 5 or 6 guys that I'd hang out with pretty consistently. But as I was like, no, I'm following Jesus. Like, that's what's going to happen. I noticed is all these guys in my life that I thought were my, best friends at the time, they all just like checked out.
Now, I hear people say that. Did they slowly withdraw themselves, or did they make a line in the sand and say, dude, we're not about this?
Yeah, I think for my case, it was just it was a slow. It was like, hey, you should come out and, hang out with us or whatever. And, I'd be like, well, I'm not going to do that. Like,
Yeah.
I'll go get dinner with you or hang out. Like, I'll go do those things with you, but I'm not going to, do whatever y'all are going to do. And so I just kind of noticed it's like those texts or those phone calls, they just never would come anymore.
Right.
And I was like, all right. And it's just me and the Lord. And so that's what it was for, I don't know, probably a good 6 months. I would go to school, do my homework, and then I would come back and just hang out with the Lord. Like that was, I think people don't realize that He's with us always.
Yeah.
And I would just come back and, and that I didn't know what I was doing, but I was like, all right, Lord, this is me and you. This is our time. Like I don't have anybody else to hang out with, so we're going to hang out. And that's what we did. And I just slowly, I'd spend time reading, spend time praying. And that's what my
times, aren't they?
It was sweet. Yeah. I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. I don't think just remembering those days, I don't think we appreciate those times enough when we're in them, because it's like, you're searching for the Lord, you're kind of wrestling with some ideas and some topics and identity and what he wants to speak into you, and you're like, is he hearing this? And then he'll break through in an encounter, and you're on cloud 9, and then like it'll be like a day or two or maybe an hour or two, and you're like, what is going on here? But then you look back on it and you go, my whole life is different because of that time that I spent with him in that. I've got a friend who is kind of like you. Maybe he's a little bit older, but he cannot wait to get alone with the Lord. He's like, okay, I got to go do my job. I got to do my thing. He's got a wife now and everything, but he's like, I just need to just get alone with the Lord, because that's everything.
It's so sweet.
It's everything. It's like, dude, yes, it is.
And I think it's like getting to that point where it was like, that's what I look forward to every evening. And looking back, I was like, oh, I have to like spend that, like this was my time with the Lord that I spent. And now it's like, oh, the Lord walks with me everywhere. Like I can acknowledge him in everything I do. But yeah, it was a really sweet time. That was like 6 months. And like you said, in the moment, you're like, this is hard. Like you're like, I don't have any friends. I don't know what life looks like.
Lord, what are you doing?
Yeah, and I had people who were Christians, and they even like, no, I mean nothing against them, but they kind of like let me hang, I guess. I don't know how to put that, but like, so it was just like I had people who were believers in my life, but it just
suppose they let you hang. I
don't know. I think they had things going on in their lives, and so it kind of just like, I don't think they intended to. Like I don't think their heart was in that, and they intended to like not like peace out of my life, but kind of peace out of my life, for instance. But their life was going different places, and so they kind of just like, the community I did have for like a short period of time, they just kind of went on their way. And so then it was just me and the Lord, and we were just walking through life. And so I had that for about probably 6 to 8 months, most of my junior year of high school.
Year was sweet.
Yeah. And so it was weird because it's like I would interact with like teachers and like a couple of people I sat next to in class, but majority of my interaction was just my parents, my grandparents, my few people at school, and then it's just me and the Lord, and that was it. And then my good friend Jared. Not you, different Jared. Yeah, but yeah.
A fantastic
and so,
as well.
And he was cool too, because his story kind of aligned in the same aspect, and we both found the Lord. And then I got to kind of move into, towards the end of that season, I got to move into this new season of me and my friend Jared, and we wouldn't have anything to do. And we both were like, no, we're following Jesus. Like, that's what we're doing. And so we just began to like start fishing and camping together and all that stuff. And so it was cool because we would go out and we'd, fish and hike and camp and do all these things. And it's like me and him would just seek the Lord together and through all that.
That's awesome.
And so it's like, yeah. And so it's just a really cool season of when we were in high school. Just, you don't have anything to do on the weekends. So we would just.
That's constructive anyway.
Yeah, nothing. Yeah. And so neither one of us worked. So we would just drive to the creek and walk the creek and, bring our Bibles and hang out, sit by the campfire, sing songs, like worship. I mean, all of it. And so that was a really cool season.
So I want to pause right here because outdoors is a theme in your world. Like you grew up in the outdoors. You grew up hunting and fishing. I come across you. We go on the Alaskan Legend, and that was like a dream trip.
Yeah.
You come back home. I see on Instagram you're hunting, fishing, like that whole thing. And I think we shared on that trip, like meeting God in the outdoors has been like,
oh yeah,
like essential for you. Like, where did the outdoorsman thing come? Does that come from parents and grandparents, or did the Lord meet you early, or is there just a wonder inside of you, or?
I think it's just part of, for me, just how the Lord wired me. As I prayed about a lot of those things, and my dad is not a big outdoorsman. I mean, he does it because I enjoy doing it, and he'll do it with me. But I'm
the guy who built his own home. But go ahead.
That's true. Yeah. But yeah, we built a house one summer together. Just a little side note there.
Yeah, don't even think we're not going back there. But go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, and so he's not a big out. He's not like. I mean, I remember I went hunting with him a couple times, but he never really liked fishing. I remember he took me one time to go fishing. I caught my first fish, and I was like, "This is awesome.
This is it. This is
and I was like,
everything you're doing.
This is what I'm doing." And so another backstory is I fished a lot. Fished for like 7 years, 8 years. 5 years competitively, and then
whoa, competitively?
Like throughout high school, I was on the bass team.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wasn't the best, because I didn't have the $75,000 boat, but
fair enough.
We had fun. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And so,
you obviously had some experience. Whenever I come across you, you're a part of the team. All you guys fly fish, and I think that one day y'all caught like 130 fish. And
yeah, it was that was like once in a lifetime experience for me.
But that was always in you, always in.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I go to Tarleton. I'm a senior at Tarleton now, but I figured out I could study wildlife, and I was like, absolutely. Like, are you kidding me?
Which I would assume at the time you thought meant like fly fishing, bass fishing.
Yeah, it's a little different than what I expected. I'm not gonna lie, but it's still really cool.
What's it like? Come on, shoot it straight. What's
I think I got into it. It was like, yes, I'll learn all about these animals and like all that stuff and how to manage them. And what I've really come to the conclusion of is you learn a lot about plants. And if you manage the plants, then the animals just figure themselves out.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, man.
Almost like it's by design or something.
I mean, yeah, that's fair. But I was like, I'm going to learn about all these cool animals and, the wilderness and how it all works. And I got to college and it was like, so how much you know about grass and trees and shrubs? Because we're going to get you very well cultured on this stuff. And so that's what, at least the wildlife degree I've been doing at Tarleton, that's what it's really been. It's like, all right, if we can manage, the grass and the trees and the plants, then the wildlife will figure themselves out. And obviously there's some overlap in there too, but.
So knowing that you have this heavy outdoor vein, your degree is in the outdoors, where do you feel like the Lord's leading you in all of this? I don't want to shortchange anything that might have happened in college. I mean, there's a bunch of years there if there's anything we need to touch on. But like, did you know pretty early on, like, I'm going to be aggressively going after the outdoors? And then like, what are you going to do with it?
Yeah. I think we always ask this question of like, what are we going to do? I never know what I'm going to do.
No, I didn't know.
I know I'm going to follow the Lord. Yeah. And that's about it. That's usually how it goes.
There's this preacher, and he says something along the lines of like, oh, I'm gonna butcher it, but he says you have to walk with the Lord. You have to be in an interactive relationship with Him. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to open up your Bible and find out, am I supposed to be a doctor, a lawyer? That stuff doesn't come, but it does come in the natural grind of life. And he says, and also none of that matters because what does He want you to do? heal the sick, raise the dead, cast out demons. Love your neighbor. Like,
go make disciples.
Go make disciples. Like,
yeah,
the rest of the stuff, that's great. You're supposed to be a doctor. You're supposed to be a lawyer. Yeah. Sure, pick one. And then heal the sick, raise the dead, cast out demons, make disciples, love your neighbor. Like, go crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, what I'm doing, I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I have been noticing, I like notice patterns really well. I think that's how my brain works. I'm a very analytical person.
Okay.
And so I'm always like looking back over my life and be like, all right, where's the pattern leading? You know, what are we doing? And so it's like you notice there's this trend of outdoors nature.
Yes.
And then, yeah, pretty heavy. Do like being outside. It is kind of fun. And so there's that trend. And then part of what I've really loved when I've been in college is obviously doing ministry and things like that. But I don't like the system. Like, I feel like some ministries,
just go ahead and say it.
I just don't like the system. You know, it's like we try to put God in a system, and he just can't be in a system. We try to and so I've noticed the system, and so part of what I have.
What do you mean by the system?
Yeah, I think we try to like write this like almost like playbook of how to do ministry.
Yeah,
and it's like you do these things. You know, you go down your list, and you're like, oh, we're gonna meet every week and go over some scripture together, and like we almost like try to put it in like this organized system that we can do, where it's like, what should ministry be? Ministry is just intentionally walking with the Lord and being faithful to what He's telling you to do. And so it's like, how do we in like ministry? And you know, I've been a part of ministry and through college, and you know, I think structure is good. I'm not dissing structure. And so that was a lot when I first got to college. I was frustrated because I went from this, me and the Lord just doing our thing, walking through life. And I'm super thankful for all the people that, you know, the Lord put in my life when I first got to college, and I'm still really great friends with them now. But as I got into ministry, I just began to get really frustrated with like all the things we're doing is we're trying to do them well and in a good heart, but it's not working. Like, it's not like I'm trying to, the words are coming, but
no, I love it because I mean, I think you're seeing something. I think you're being real, where you can feel the pushback even whenever you go to say the thing, because you don't want to. Not you, I'm just saying one. Yeah. I find the same issue. I don't want to discredit people and their ministry, their work. Like, they're trying to put their hand to the plow. I'm all about that. Yes and amen. But the system of, if you do, in my world, is like, if you do mailers, and if you have greeters at the door, and if you make sure that they have multiple touch points throughout the service, if you have a high impact worship set followed by kind of like a self-helpy type message, then you are going to cover all of your bases and make sure that you end on a high note. So come back with a song or something. If you do that formula, that system, that package, then people will have left feeling better than when they came in, and they will think positively about their club that they're a part of. And so it's like that package, nobody wants to say it. I'll say it. That way you don't have to. It kind of needs to be blown up so like it can be the outdoors again. It can be HEB. It can be a guy who has no idea what he's supposed to do, but he's walking with the Lord, and he's supposed to call these 3 friends, and they're going to get together. And if they ever have a problem, they call one another and say, here's what I'm dealing with. Here's what's going on. Here's what I feel like the Lord's telling me. What are you hearing? Can you pray for me? Because I'm not really sure. I heard this scripture this morning in my prayer time. Does that mean anything to you? Does that oh my goodness. You know, those types of
and I think a lot of it I've noticed is it's just rooted in like the culture we've built. It's like people think Christians should be these perfect people. Right? I mean, like, I was talking to somebody the other day, and they didn't want to say something because they were afraid, you know, such and such is gonna think that I'm not, you know, a good Christian. I'm like, what the heck, dude? Like I will be the first to tell you, like, I am broken, I'm sinful, I'm corrupt. Like, I got Jesus. Thank the Lord for that, and that I get to walk with Him. But it's like, and we also just don't talk about our struggles.
Yeah.
Like people think Christianity is just supposed to be this sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah.
There's some days I'm in like the trenches, dude. I'm just like trying to get through the day, and I'm like, Lord, I need some help. Like this day sucks. Like I'm just straight up say it. Like it just sucks. And that's okay. But it's like we create this culture of like, no, it has to be good. Like you're walking with the Lord, so like you're fine. And it's like, no. Like the Lord puts us through hardships to teach us and learn.
Ooh, there's so many. I love it. There's so many things that you've said here today that I think blows up a lot of like modern Christianity, at least where we live and try and work and do ministry. Because for you to say that the Lord might actually put you to the test. No, the Lord doesn't put anybody to. I get what but you're saying He might challenge you in such a way to chip off some of the things that don't need to be a part of you anymore, or to cause you to cry out and say, I can't handle this, because you can't handle it.
Yeah, we can't. We're imperfect.
We're imperfect. Like it's just a broken vessel, broken leaky vessel, need to be filled.
Yeah,
it's a part of the contract, and I think you've got it in saying that Christianity right now is kind of scared of saying I have flaws.
Yeah,
because we're not allowed to, and we do that to one another.
Yeah.
So thank you for championing that, the young people
100%.
of life. Let's get real.
I'll be the first one. I'm the type of person, and you probably picked up on this since you maybe know me. I will hate surface level conversations. I do. I'm the type of person, I'm like, what's the point of that conversation?
Right.
That was stupid. Like, I'm being real. And it's like,
you would get along well with my wife. She's like, I'll skip it. Just go straight to the coaching stuff or the.
And I don't mind, getting to know you. And like, there's obviously like, there's elements that go all into that 100%. But it's like, what's stopping us from being real, especially as believers? Because we already told our identities. Do we trust in them?
Ooh.
It's like, what does that look like? Because if we're afraid to, talk about the real stuff, it's for me in my brain, it's like, if I'm afraid to let all my crap get spilled, then am I really walking in what the Lord wants me to? Am I really trusting in my identity and who He's called me to be? Or am I believing everything the world tells of me?
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah, it's almost like Jesus said something similar. It's like, I have so much more to talk to you about, so much more to tell you, but we can't really handle it right now. So
yeah. So
we'll keep it at this level. Yeah. Hey, that you are speaking my wife's language. She's like, let's just please get past all of the pleasantries. I love you. Yes, great, fantastic. But like, especially with people she knows, I'm not talking about a brand new stranger. But people that she knows, like, strangers. Right. Though that would be...
What is your deepest, darkest secret?
I think she's going there all the time. But it's like, we have that culture. You say, hey, how are you doing? Everybody goes,
I'm good. It's like, are you really good?
You're not really good.
Yeah.
And I'm one of the 5 people in your life that whenever I say, hey, how are you doing? I'm just saying, how are you doing? You're supposed to go, today sucked.
Yeah.
It's awful. Like, I had these thoughts. This is what was going on. I know what the Lord says about me, but like, this is what I'm walking in right now. Awesome. Now we're there.
Yeah.
Let's get in His presence together. See what He says.
Yeah, let's pray together.
Let's pray.
Yeah.
Let's pray and let Him remind you again of who you are. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, man. Awesome. Dude, there needs to be thousands more like you.
Well,
I know. You stay humble. Let me brag on you for a minute. It's my podcast. There needs to be thousands, if not, many multiples more like you. So if we're going to see the church produce more like you, what produced you? And 2, if you were to whisper back to young Isaac, who's like now hitting high school, college age years, what wisdom would you give him?
Okay. Oh God, that would be terrible. Yeah.
Just pretend for a second that I might have the authority to go, you're a trustworthy young man.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to be looking for trustworthy young men in order to invest our lives and ministries and the future into.
Yeah.
So identified, what made you? How did you get to where you are? And what nuggets would you pass along to a younger man who's coming up through the faith as a shortcut to say, hey, though it costs you everything, you have to sell all that you have,
Yeah.
gain this.
I think just the biggest like anthem over my life, I guess I would put it, was I treat God like he's a person in my life. Like, it tells us that, he wants a relationship with us.
Yeah.
And so people probably think I'm crazy, which is fair. But I walk around life like Jesus is walking right next to me. And I know that sounds really simple, but it's like, if you treat somebody like he's right next to you, you're going to talk to him. You're going to be intentional with him. You're going to have the high moments. You're going to have the low moments. You're going to go to him. And so you're going to do all these things. And so I think so often, and I did this, is we count our faith as an element of our life instead of where life comes from itself.
Now say that again.
Yeah. So we count our faith as just an element or like a piece of our life than where life comes from itself.
Mm.
And so it's like, what if we walk through our everyday life like Jesus was walking right next to us?
Yeah.
We'd start to be a lot different, probably.
Yeah, we would.
Be like, and I think we always think like, I tell guys, at the college, and I love to take guys out and fish and just love on them, pour into them. But it's like, we don't have to have fancy words, right?
Yeah.
Like Paul, I think it's Paul in Corinthians. He's like, I didn't come to you knowing anything other than Christ and Christ crucified. And then there's countless other times in the Bible where he's like, I didn't come using lofty words or words of wisdom or any of this, but I know Jesus. And I think our culture makes it like, you're like, and not to discount God's holiness and his, his perfection and on all that stuff. But man, I talk to Jesus like he's just a guy next to me.
Yeah.
And I acknowledge like, he is my creator. He is the person who knows everything. And I can ask him anything. And so it's like, but a lot of it is the question that I like to ask questions. I think Jesus modeled that well, and I should as well.
Yeah, if you can ever get the guy to answer a question directly, he usually, I don't know about you, but when I'm talking to Jesus and I ask him a question and I'm expecting the answer, to be A, B, C, linear, I'll ask him a question, and a lot of times he'll ask me a question back. It's like, no.
You're supposed to tell me the answer.
I was looking for the answer.
Yeah.
But in a way, the question was the answer. It's like,
but you found it.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's even how we're wired. Like, you look at our like neurological system. How do you learn? You learn by doing. You learn by, like, if I were to just give you the answer, you'd be like, okay, sweet, thanks for the answer, and move on. But when you walk through it and you experience it, you remember.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
How God designed our brains.
That's right.
And so,
dude, that's amazing. Well, let me ask you one last question, and we'll start landing this plane. So I kind of asked from your perspective, but I also speak with a lot of older men who don't know what their role is like in the church, in the faith.
Yeah.
They'll say, this is all it's your time. It's your time to take it and run with it. How could an older man, let's just imagine them being 60 plus.
Yeah.
Sorry, 60 plus folks out there, but you would be in the older men category. What would it look like for them to draw alongside you? Like what would their role in the faith in your faith development look like?
I think it goes back. This is what I would do if I was their age. Obviously, I'm not, and so take that into consideration. I always seek to sit around people who are big people at the table. I know that sounds kind of weird, but I myself seek for that. And so if I was an older person and I saw, obviously saw something in somebody younger, I think it's as simple as, especially at college age, invite them to go get lunch, pay for their lunch, get to know them. Start doing life. That's what discipleship is. It's doing life with somebody. And so it's like, if you can find somebody younger and you feel like the Lord's calling you to, pour in to love that person some more, start doing life with them. That's what discipleship is. I think we always like try to put this like formal thing on discipleship.
Everybody wants that classroom and teaching.
Yeah, like let's go sit down at the coffee shop once a week and, all right, how can I be praying for you? What are you struggling with? Like, we go through the list of questions. It's like, no. Discipleship is like, I'm going to call you at 3 a.m. and I'm having a problem. Like, you're going to answer and we're going to talk through it and we're going to pray together.
I love that.
And so it's like, it's just doing that life, especially college students, especially guys. I can't speak for girls. I'm not a girl. We love food. Like, buy us some lunch. Like, I will go sit down with somebody if they buy me lunch. Absolutely. And I feel like any college student would. But that provides that opportunity to really pour in and love that person. And then I think part of it is when I'm talking with people and if I was in their shoes, I feel like I would just be asking the Lord of like, one of my favorite things to ask the Lord when I'm in a conversation with somebody is, Lord, what do I need to ask him or what do I need to tell him? Yeah. And I've saw the Lord do some incredible things through just me asking that question. Like just a couple weeks ago, we were sitting there and I was at this event and I started talking to this guy and I just, I like to ask the Lord that of like, Lord, what does this person need to know? And I just got this thought in my brain of like, this guy's struggling. And I didn't know anything about this guy. I never met this guy. And I said, hey man, you're probably going to think this is weird, but I just really felt called to ask you, what are you struggling with and how can I help you? And this guy, I literally just saw, as I asked the Lord this question, this guy started just pouring his guts out. Like everything, just things he was struggling with. His dad had cancer. He's fighting through all these things. And he was like, I just didn't know where to go and know what to do. And it was just because I asked the Lord, what does this person need to know? Or what do I need to ask this person? And I got to see as the Lord and we ended up having a 2 or 3 hour long conversation, and just walking through some things together. And it was just because in those conversations, I'm just doing like I would if Jesus was sitting right next to me and saying, Lord, what does this person need to know? Like, what do I need to tell him? What do I need to ask him? And so just like that. I mean, I know I probably expanded on that a lot, but
dude, that's so good. No, I think it's everything.
Yeah.
I don't want to oversimplify the faith, but I kind of think that's everything.
Yeah.
Walking out life with the living God right there with you, tangibly there, asking him for direction and wisdom and how he wants to love the people in front of us. And I think it was one of the guys who was on the boat with us. I don't know if it was on the boat at the time when he said it.
Yeah.
But he said, there's, to that question, to the older people who are out there, he said, they're always so scared because they do want that environment and they don't really know how to reach out to young people or young men and come alongside them. And I love that you said one, it's as simple as taking them out to lunch. But I remember, I think it was Skylar who said, just get them in vicinity of one another and old men do what old men do and young men do what young men do. Yeah. And by that, he meant old men are going to say something at some point in time and it's going to blow the minds of young people because they just haven't lived the years that the older people have. Yeah, the older.
And it's a sweet connection.
It's a sweet connection. And then it becomes the sponge type thing of like, whoa, what else do they know? Like, what else can they share? Because they've been walking with the Lord. Some of these folks for many years.
100%.
They don't realize how much they have to share. I appreciate you kind of tackling that and showing how easy it is. That it's just, it's back to the childlike faith of like we're just walking in step with Jesus. Because it's kind of the whole shooting match. I love that because that should be a huge encouragement to the older men of the faith, hearing it from a younger man in the faith. That
100%.
Dude, everybody's needed, everybody's valued. Because I think a lot of times they struggle with like, where's my place? I'm out to pasture. I'm gonna just kind of sit here in the church and love the Lord or whatever, and just But there's so much left in the tank.
That's what we're called to do. We're called to go and make disciples. And, I always tell people, they're like, I think younger people get in their head that, well, I'm not equipped. Well, that's okay. God equips you. Look at the woman in the well. She literally met Jesus, interacted with Jesus, had the interaction, right? Was changed by Jesus. You think she knew how to, give a full, sermon or share the full gospel?
Prayer.
She was like, no. this is what Jesus did in my life.
Yeah.
And here's the evidence.
Yeah.
And what'd she do? She went back in her town and the whole town got saved.
And the word of her testimony.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
And it's like our stories.
Yeah.
It's our stories. God's wrote our stories. He's already had them wrote. It's like we get to share that. It's testimony.
Well, dude, I know we just got to fly 30,000 feet over your story a little bit today. It's kind of how my podcast rolls with the amount of time that we kind of get to spend together. But thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. Truly amazing. I need to tell you that, dude, you are a trustworthy young man, and the sky is the limit in God with you. I always challenge the people that I walk and do life with and say, like, you know, Jesus walked on water. Like, he got to see some incredible things. He got to love on some incredible people. And he walks with us now. And so he said, greater works than these will you do. And I truly believe that, like, there is no limit whenever you're walking together with Christ. And I can see that being evidenced in your life. And so I'm going to say, hang on for the ride, my friend, because it's only just beginning. And I can't wait to see what God does in you and through you. And no pressure in it at all, just an enjoyment and appreciation of the work of his hand, that like how he's built you, how he's made you, my friend. It is a pleasure to know you, and I look forward to, as long as you're around our parts, doing life together.
Yeah, man, I really appreciate it. I think that's just such a big encouragement. It's been cool to get to see you and all the things the Lord is doing in you. And I know I've only, got to spend a week or two with you. Like, that's our whole relationship. Is we got thrown on a boat for a week together.
That's a whole podcast for another time.
Yeah, that's a whole nother story for another time. But yeah, man, it's been incredible getting to just hear from you, and I love hearing people's stories and what the Lord's doing in their life. And so I appreciate you letting me come hang out and tell some of my story.
Absolutely. I sometimes, if you're online, I'll say, where can people find you? But I know you have Instagram and stuff, and sometimes you're on it, sometimes you're off of it. So I'll let you be the judge of that one. But I will say that you have a podcast airing on Tablemen. I think that's what they're going to end up calling it.
I think so.
The Tablemen.
Really don't know a whole lot other than I went to film.
We're working on it right now. That was the podcast where we flew up to Alaska. We hopped on the Alaskan Legend with Charles and the gang. And just had a ball up there.
It's amazing.
Fishing, seeking the Lord together and sitting down, just kind of hammering out what is God doing in the faith today. And that was a lot of fun. Just a bunch of men gathered around a table, kind of sharing their stories, much like this, minus the table. So anybody who wants to get a little bit more of Isaac's story can check out that podcast. We're working on it. It'll be out soon. But if you're seeing this later on in life, he's got a podcast out there. I'm sure he's got many more by the time this thing airs. We'll see. All right, man. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We're done. We're out.